Hey there, Facebook friends. John here, coming to you from my study here at Life Church's Saginaw campus. And just got off of an online live uh, teaching with one of my professors in my doctoral process. And it struck me that some of you who have kind of followed along on this journey, which I really only share here on my personal Facebook, might be interested in the doctoral process. So I thought I would just take a minute and talk about it. And if that doesn't interest you, you can skip the video. That's totally fine too. So I've always loved learning. Like it's been said that leaders are readers. If you stop reading, you stop leading. And so I've known for a long time, all the way back to when I was in college, that eventually I would go to pursue a doctorate because I just love to learn and to improve and to grow. And um, initially, I thought that I would. This is like 20 plus years ago. When I was in Chicago, I thought I would get a doctorate in apologetics. And apologetics is defending the faith. So, like the series we're doing right now at Life Church is an apologetics series. It really is. It's answering honest questions that people have from the scriptures. So I've always been interested in apologetics. And so if you've ever read or watched anything from Lee Strobel, he's an apologist, for example. Uh, but then after finishing up our master's work at Ashland Theological Seminary in Ohio, Amber and I just kind of jumped right into youth ministry. And then along the way, God led us into doing youth ministry for adults, which is church planting. And have just really enjoyed this type of ministry of being entrepreneurial in reaching people far from God. And really, it was the pandemic, everything coming to a screeching halt, that began my journey towards pursuing my doctorate. Because up until the pandemic, this church that we started from scratch, Life Church, grew super crazy fast, just exponentially. I say it all the time that I've never led a church that grew that fast, going from like 0 to 1,200 in 5 years. It's just nuts. Then the pandemic hit, and every church in America took a huge hit because suddenly everything was shut down, giving drops, involvement drops. And whereas 2 years ago I would have said this pandemic is a curse, it's just completely obliterated all this work we've done for the last 6 or 7 years. I can look at it now as God's graceful hand, that as our church was growing so fast, I was having to add staff fast, many of whom probably should not have been added on staff, who just weren't qualified. And yeah, there were mistakes that I made along the way too, because I was in a brand new situation that is very hard to get mentorship in, because not very many people lead churches that start from scratch and blow up that big fast. So with the pandemic, the grace of God was that it allowed time for pausing, reflecting, evaluating, and looking at areas in my life and in my leadership that I need to fine tune, that I need help with. And so, last year it kind of just led me to Liberty University's online digital doctoral program. I like Liberty University because A, they have a strong commitment to the Bible's authority. B, they are very progressive in their methodology, in how they do what they do. And those both are my bread and butter. That's how we do Life Church, right? So, last summer I started this doctoral program. It involves lots and lots of reading. The cool thing about doing online is that you can attend your lectures, your video lectures, a according to your own schedule. So it's kind of like you Netflix your higher education. So you don't have to show up at 10 a.m. on a certain date. You can, watch the lecture whenever you need to. A tool that's really helped me because one of the things that I've really learned in the last 2 years that was a hang up for me in leading is I was diagnosed with ADHD, which people think ADHD is like, oh, squirrel, and you can't concentrate on something. That's not really what ADHD is. ADHD means you are over focusing on too many things. And so you have to learn how to adapt. And when you are struggling with ADHD and it's undiagnosed, or even after it's diagnosed, that can get you into problems because you lose details. So whereas there might have been a perception that, oh, John doesn't care about the details. No, John cares very, very deeply about the details, but because of the different chemicals in the brain, it's a struggle to hold on to this detail while you're also focusing on this and this and this and this. It's a mental disorder that's out of your control. So you have to create pathways. And so one pathway was getting this device. It's the Remarkable. It's it's kind of like an iPad, but it's only lets you take notes, and then you can sync your notes with computers and things. So it eliminates any distraction. On the Remarkable device, there's no internet, there's no email, there's no apps. It's strictly like a notepad. And the neat thing is it keeps all your notes in one place, so you don't have moleskin notebooks laying around and you're like me trying to figure out where did I write that one thing. It's all right here, so it's an instant database, but it's simplified so that you don't get distracted by pop-ups and apps. And this has been a game changer in my world, in keeping my message notes, keeping when I'm counseling someone, everything is just right here. So as long as I have this device, it's a huge tool in the tool belt when you have ADHD. And so I've been using that a lot with the doctoral process, with taking notes as I'm watching videos, as I read. I'm always underlining things and writing things down. And sometimes I'll even retype what I've just read, something that's really impactful, and I'll share it on a group that we have here on Facebook called Bible Study Tools that a lot of our lifers follow. And so that's been a really, really helpful tool that has enhanced my life and my leadership during this doctoral process. There's lots of reading involved, and I've really, really enjoyed a lot of the books that I'm being exposed to because they're outside of my tribe, and I love that. I value that. That just brings a greater wealth of knowledge to my cognate, which is not apologetics. Funny enough, it's actually evangelism and church planting is what I'm getting my doctorate in, because that's what I'm doing in real time right now at Life Church. Is we have a huge focus on evangelism and church planting, and now that I've gotten through all my classes, I'm in the thesis stage, which is developing a problem statement, and then for the next year, doing a full deep dive investigation through the lens of evangelism and church planting on solving the problem. And the problem that I'm working on is how do we, the church, leverage what we have learned from the pandemic. So every church in America has reopened their doors to lower attendance, lower giving, lower involvement, lower engagement. So not how do we restart, not how do we rebound, but instead to be exercising wisdom and to see the pandemic through the lens of eternity, that this was God's grace. So what is God teaching us? Why did God allow this to happen? How do we leverage what we have learned so that the local church can come back stronger, reaching the lost at any cost. And I'll be doing the defense, the final stage, probably right around Easter of next year. And, by God's grace, if that goes well, then I'll have completed my doctorate by next spring. That's the goal and the end game. And along the way, I'm taking a lot of these tools and a lot of these new ways of organizing and thinking, and it's shaping such things here at Life Church, such as this series we are doing right now, Game Over, which is a very different approach to a message series than we've done in the past, and people really responded well to it. Another example is our ministry internship program. We're really looking forward to our summer internship season beginning next week, being much more intentional with teaching and pouring into emerging leaders, which I believe is what the local church should be doing. You walk into so many churches nowadays and they're like, we don't have any leaders. Well, you need to have a purposeful pipeline and program to develop leaders within your midst. Everything you need is right there in your pews. It's how well are you stewarding and pouring into the next generation. So I'm really looking forward to a revamped summer internship and doing those semesters going forward. And just thankful for the luxury of having time to work on this doctorate. Since things have slowed down a little bit post-pandemic, I am able to pour into these studies and really, pull a lot out of this. And that's only going to help strengthen Life Church and our effectiveness in the years ahead. So that's the scoop. I highly recommend, if you are looking to do college work or master's work or doctorate work without going on campus, Liberty University has just been a great organization to work with. They've been very accommodating, and yet the work is not diluted. It's still very rigorous. And so I've been very, very impressed with Liberty's online offerings. So that's the scoop. Thanks for being along on this journey. I appreciate it. And hopefully this wasn't too boring for you. This is just my world right now, and it's very, very invigorating. I really enjoy this. So thank you so much.